Hello and welcome. This is Playing Favorites. I'm Paul.
I'm Justin, and I feel great.
Hello, Justin. I'm glad you're feeling great.
I can't smell this beer.
I
can't smell this beer, but it tastes delicious.
Justin, it's coming back to us very slowly. It's coming back though. Your sense of smell.
Yes. Yeah. So over the past week, last 2 weeks since the last time we recorded, I'm going to be out there. I got COVID. My family got it. We got through it. It's my last day of official New York State quarantine, so I'm feeling good. Feeling good to
Celebrate.
We're ready to drink a beer, talk about Wheel of Time.
Sounds good. Yes, and Wheel of Time, episode 5 and 6, we're going to talk about. Episode 5, Blood Calls Blood, and episode 6, The Flame of Valon. And yeah, it's been really interesting watching how this show has been developing. Before we get into that, I'd like to just remind people that you can find our podcast, the Playing Favorites podcast, in whatever podcasting application you use.
I'll give you some examples, like Google Podcasts or Apple Podcasts.
Yep.
We submit our stuff on Anchor, so I guess go support. You'll hear an ad about that at some point in the show. But yeah, pick your favorite podcast.
Our advertisement for Anchor. But yes, you can listen to us on Anchor, Spotify, Overcast, wherever you get your podcast from, you can find us. As well as our YouTube page, where our podcast does also end up. So new episodes of the podcast do come to YouTube. You get to see our lovely faces here presented with an awesome background sometimes. But in a wampa too. I like that wampa, by the way. I've been liking.
You like my slowly additional, like my flag, right? That's the first time it's been in here. The flag.
Yep. Let's explain that that's a Star Wars flag. That's an Imperial flag, right? Nothing else.
Is that our First Order though? I wasn't sure. I think it's First Order. I think it's
First Order is Arrow-ish. No, it's not the First Order logo.
I guess it is more Imperial. That's right. The red's throwing me off.
It's Return of the Jedi era Imperial flag, I think.
I like your cityscape. Your background is nice in Discord. Thank you.
Do you like my purple city?
Yeah.
I like purple neon stuff. I've noticed that about myself. I like purple neon stuff. I think it looks good. That's how our original logo was a lot of purple and teal.
Yep.
But I digress. Yep, YouTube channel got lots of cool stuff. You should check it out. Some of our bonus
you can see all of our really cool colors that we use. But yeah, long-winded promo. Just one other thing. We have Twitter. Go check that out. We're on Facebook. Yep. All the stuff's in the little description, either on the podcast or YouTube channel. So now that we got that out of the way.
And one more brief announcement before we get going, because this is our review of our discussion of episodes 5 and 6 of the Wheel of Time. Just like to let our listeners, viewers know that we're going to be also coming back to our regular podcast format a little bit. Going to be coming back with a normal episode. Not that these episodes are abnormal, but we just decided to spend some time talking about this first season because it was very exciting. But just get ready. You'll also see something that's not Wheel of Time related pop up in your podcast feed as well. But other than that, Justin, I think it's time to talk about it.
Got a lot to talk about.
Yeah. So Blood Calls Blood. What were your first impressions of this episode? I kind of want to get your likes and dislikes, because you've got a set of knowledge a little bit more than I do, obviously.
Yeah.
A lot more than I do.
So there's a lot of moments in this that I enjoy, but I want to talk about the stuff that I didn't know about going into this. We don't really have to call, because I think we could jump around this episode. We don't have to go beat by beat.
Yeah, we don't have to.
You know what I mean? I want to talk about the whole Warders with this, because this is something you don't really get a ton. The whole scene with the funeral and all that stuff, the ritual at the end, literally that ended episode and leading up to that stuff, and the conversation with Lan and oh god, what's his name? What's the Warder's name? That
Steppen.
So like that whole that whole arc, like the kind of this what builds, I guess I call it the core of the episode, is him dealing with the passing of Karene, and like the warders trying to help him cope through it, go through the rituals and all those things. Like that whole arc is like completely not in the book, completely not like focused on, but it is like discussed and hinted at, like how they would deal with the death of an Aes Sedai. Like it is like it does happen, but like seeing all this and like fleshing it out and just like giving it more purpose is, for a fan of the series, that's what I'm really learning with this show, is was unique, was different, unexpected, um, made me engage. Who's someone that kind of like, I might know all the twists and turns that are going to happen in this series, like, oh, that happened and that happened and that happened. Like you're not going to see those things, but I'm like ready for them and I'm excited in a different way. Where this was just kind of completely out of left field, as far as like what this, I did not expect this to be brought up in an episode at all, and perfect time for it.
Which would you find that this was like rewarding too, because you're being surprised by not just like some kind of plot twist, but like more context, more background stuff that you may have had questions about or like wanted to see. It's like, are they giving to both? Are they giving to people who are not familiar with this series at all? And are they also giving the people who are familiar with the series like little nuggets of joy and wisdom along the way?
There's a lot of nuggets in that episode, actually, that only people that have read the book would have seen too. Like, I have to say,
sure.
There's a ton,
lots of nuggets. No, I like it. I like when episodes leave
20,
lots of nuggets.
The 20 piece or the 10? No, I'm just kidding.
Ooh, 20 piece, man. 20 piece or go home. What are you going to talk about? 6 pieces. What are 6 pieces of? What is that for? I hate to admit how many times, like, if you're like traveling on the road, stop at a rest area, and it's like, I could be good and get something healthy, or I could get a 20-piece chicken McNuggets and not tell a single soul, or tell you and other people who are listening to this. I have no shame. I have no shame. What you eat on the road is yours alone. Nobody else has to judge you. Anyways, gummy bears and chicken McNuggets.
But it was interesting about this one. I'll add, it's like you left at the end of episode 4 with this like dramatic, crazy, epic moment with Nynaeve, but they really kind of take a step back from that, and they really give that death a lot of like time, which I honestly appreciated. Like, they didn't have to do that. Like, they could have just like, oh, sad day, a little funeral. I thought that was going to be the end of it at the beginning, where they showed all the death of the war, and like they had like all light up, like with like the things over them, and like
the little burial ceremony.
Like, I was like, okay, we're just the rest of the episode's going to be about Nynaeve and all the party reuniting, because you could tell they're kind of all sort of like kind of coming to Tar Valon, right? They're all kind of like like showing up there. So I'm like, oh, they could easily just take this episode just to get them all together. Like, no, they just took that extra time to flesh out the world, flesh out the warders, which is a really important part of Wheel of Time. It's just the way the book tells it is different. It's a slow burn to learn that information.
Of course. I've got some thoughts on how they're going about this with the warders. I think I agree with you. I think it's really interesting. I think they're fascinating characters in like this relationship dynamic. And you also learn in this episode that there is this, like, that connection between them is a magical connection.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just like, oh, they've been around together for 25 years. It's that too, but also this like empathetic connection. So they have like, they feel each other's feelings, because in episode 6 there's a moment where that kind of comes into play. We'll talk about that later. But
yep.
For this episode, for what was it? I think it was the Green Aja, the friend of Moraine. I forget her name.
Alana.
She, when her and Moraine are in private, and she says, like, have you ever thought of releasing your warder from that spell, like from that, like, have you ever thought of like giving him a release? And like that they have that kind of conversation makes me feel like there is something not unethical about it, because the warders like agree to do it. They agree to have this done to them so that they can feel each other's feelings, and like kind of know how each other is feeling at all times. But there is still something kind of weirdly invasive about it to me. I understand it's a very deep connection. It's very, in a sense, it's a very good connection for them. But like what happens to Stepan is a good example of what happens when you don't release someone from that spell or whatever it is, that connection, because he can't live in this world without Karenni.
Yeah.
He can't do it. For a minute, I thought they were trying to align him with Nynaeve, because he kind of like it's funny because he like came to her in one scene. He comes to her bedroom, or where she's staying. She's staying in the warder's quarters. Like he comes there and he's like drunk. He's got the bottle. He's like, "Hey, how's it going?" And he's like, "Thank you for the tea." And I'm like, "Oh, what's going on with this scene? Are they shipping these two together?" And I was, but I mean, like
hearing you use I know hearing you use the phrase shipping just makes me laugh. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna keep using all these just to see your reaction. But when I mean, isn't that scene? It's set up very much like a here is somebody who's lost and searching, and here's Nynaeve, and it almost felt like they were trying to push them together. I didn't understand really the point of that scene, other than to show that Nynaeve gave him like a healing tea and kind of just
there's a
explain a
reason
little
for
bit more about.
there's a reason he took that. That's what made Lon pass out.
Okay, all right. Well, that makes sense then.
I think he knew that Lon was going to stay. He knew he was smart. He knew that the warders were going to be. It's well known that this happens. So like I feel like he knew that someone was watching. Someone was going to be overseeing him. Lon was going to stay with him. And that's what he makes him drink the tea with him and passes him out. That's the whole reason he goes to Nynaeve's room, to be quite honest. Like
okay. Okay, fair enough. It is set up like a different kind of scene, but okay, I'll accept that as the true meaning of the scene. Oh, I can't wait to tell Kristen that. We haven't rewatched it since the first time.
Since we're focused on the warders, because I feel like that's the bulk of it. Like there is a scene that like I appreciated. I want to just tell you is they're with Lan and they're talking. They're just discussing, and they have like these little statues. They discuss about the Forsaken as these like gods or something like of that nature. Yeah. Those are very and like extremely like a huge part of what's to come. Like if anything, that's a foreshadowing. Like them mentioning Forsaken, like yeah, like that got me just hearing the words Forsaken, like it's got me excited. If anything, that's all I'll say.
Okay, you do. That's all you'll say,
unless you want me to tell you more.
What is remind us then from the episode what happened with the Forsaken?
They're just talking about like it's just like they're like in a sense like they're like they had like these little figurines, and he was like doing like sort of a ritual type thing, discussing Ishmael and the Forsaken. They had like different stories of like past lives and past like adventures, and like they have like there's like an understanding of who each of these Forsaken are. The Forsaken pretty much are people of the past that worked for the Dark One, but they have like it's almost like hearing stories about gods that like, and this is me loosely kind of giving my understanding of it and how they're at least telling it in this episode. They use the story of the Forsaken to kind of help. It's like bedtime stories to teach things, like teach lessons to children and things of that nature. It's kind of
little moral fables.
Yeah, moral fables, but they're actual people, and they have an actual role. How they'll bring it into play into this, but yeah, they'll. We should learn more about them soon.
Okay,
but I was excited to hear. At all. I was really excited to hear them mention Forsaken. That's like kind of like me being excited about just real time stuff. So
okay, all right.
Yeah. So the rest of the episode. Oh, go ahead. What'd you have to say?
Oh, I was just gonna say. I mean, I was gonna ask if we could talk about Egwene and Perrin and
Sure, absolutely.
Their thread in this tale.
Oh, one thing I want to add, one thing at the end when they're doing the chant, just that actor Dan Healy, whoever plays Lan, the chanting at the end, freaking, that was awesome. Like, I have to say.
I was gonna save it to talk about. Let's just talk about it.
Well, we're talking about the warders, so I just wanted to.
Yes, let's keep talking about the warders. So this was like warder heavy episode, and it was excellent. Just giving them the chance to explain more and more about what that role is and what it's like to have that connection. And seeing how when Len is in pain like that and how Moraine is also in pain, like she can't, as you said when we were talking off mic, or like you had said, like she can't help herself, like she's feeling what he's feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this, like you had two different funerals, right? So it started with Karenni's funeral, and it's a very like an Aes Sedai led, very like I don't want to say like a very female kind of funeral, but it is led by women and it is their ritual. Whereas the one at the end here, the warder's funeral, is similar yet different, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same kind of thing. It's their mourning, one of their own in their way. And yeah, I loved how like both of them were like the first one had like the very like high pitched kind of like singing. It reminded me a little bit of the deleted scene from Two Towers. Yeah, that always like makes you jump out of your skin when she starts because it's just very surprising. The Eowyn's song at the funeral for her cousin, I believe, Theoden's son. Yeah, so like that, there's that kind of thing, and then you have the like kind of throat singing that they had. I don't know if you watched the like behind the scenes of the episode, and they were kind of talking about that difference in the way that they presented the funerals. And yeah, like in having Lan as it was like the designated mourner, like the person who is going to, everyone else is going to hold it in and just like kind of do the singing, but Lan is going to be the one that'll serve as the primary mourner.
Yeah,
for his
which makes me wonder, like what happened? He hasn't been there for like 2 years, so like who was the replacement mourner, right? Like who's the one that's like Lan hasn't been there in like 2 years, so like is there a replacement mourner that like takes that role? Like it.
I think it goes by like who knows the person best, not who's the mourner. Okay, and guys, Gary will do it. I'll do it again.
Man, he's not Gary. Man, he's not as good as Lan. No one's as good as Lan.
He doesn't cry as good as Lan. Come on, Gary, put some feeling into it. All right.
But though that actor though, who plays Lan, like he got into it. Like his blood vessels were like about to burst. Like it was just like, oh man, it was such a good scene. Like I love that scene.
Anytime, man, like you see him like an actor like really just going for it. It's really good. It's remarkable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Great
arc.
Great ending.
Yep. Great arc. Very unsuspected. Now we can segue into other parts of this episode if you'd like.
How about this? Before we go to the people out with the Tinkers, also in Tar Valon, Rand and Mat make it, and they meet a very important character. It seems like the most lovable creature character.
Yes, love him.
I mean, his name is phonetically loyal.
Yeah.
I wonder what kind of person he is. He's pretty loyal.
Oh, it's an ogre. Excuse me, Ogier.
Ogier. So, I like how Rand is like, it's a monster. He's like, oh, humans. Always so quick. He's just like not concerned. Rand's like, here. And he's like, please put that away.
No, like you're saying, I love Loyal. Yeah. Go ahead. Tell me your impressions of Loyal, because I mean, obviously, I know you don't know much about him aside from this.
Other than what you've said and what I've been seeing is like people are like Loyal, like They did it it seems like he's a fan favorite kind of character,
Mm-hmm.
and he just seems like a I don't know, like I like him. He's fun. He's interesting looking. I like the design of him.
Yeah.
I like that he's bigger, but also still just like very similar to like a regular biped. But he's yeah, he's cool, and it's like our first introduction to other than human creatures, beings
Like
in this
good
world.
versions, not Trollocs. Like
Yeah, not the
actual,
Fade,
like
not the
intelligent.
Trollocs. This is like elves or dwarves or
Mm.
like this is just another race of beings that lives on this world. And it was cool to see that through Rand's eyes, who's just like, a monster. And
Yeah,
he's like, red hair. You must be an Aiel. Is that how you say that?
Ayum.
Aiel?
Well, it's all pronunciation. That's I love the book. They pronounce things differently in the book too on purpose. Like it's like he says because he's an Ogier, he says things differently than Rand will say it. They do it. It's like a purposeful conversation. So he says like Auman, like it's Aeul man, but everyone else says
Oh,
ale. A spell it's spelled differently.
Aiel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so like, oh, you're an ailman. He's like ailman. Like it's a kind of back and forth. Obviously, the book kind of fleshes that kind of back and forth a little bit more. Like it happens a little bit more elaborately. But yeah, like I love that. That I love how they brought him in. It was perfect.
Yep. No, he's good. I like that. And they get to witness the parade bringing in what's his name there?
Logain,
The not the Logain Ablard, not the Dragon Reborn,
the
um,
false dragon.
the False Dragon. So a couple of really cool things are going on in this scene. So yeah, first like we know like Rand and Matt have made it. He sticks out like a sore thumb with his giant bow on his back.
Oh
I
yeah.
gotta say.
Oh, and Matt, of course, is not doing too well. They've been was this, but there's a time lapse in this too. There's like a month, right?
It's been 1 month and he's getting worse.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem like he's eating much. He looks like he's just really at death's door and just kind of like fidgety and very Gollum like, if I have to say. Like
Yep.
just something's not right with that boy. But he's one thing I like though is that they get to witness this kind of like when you were saying earlier about like how surprised you were like after a huge episode 4 that this episode was much slower, much more focused on character reactions to what happened before. Um, and yeah, it seems like these 2 episodes are dealing with the aftermath of episode 4.
Yeah.
Um, and Karenni's funeral and like her death, and the fact that she come like her horse comes back with the boot still in the saddle in the stirrup,
Yeah.
which is a practice. I don't know whose practice it is, but Kristen actually reminded me. She was like, "Yeah, that means a rider hasn't returned when they put someone's boot like
Hmm.
that backwards into the stirrup of their horse." So that's why when like they're bringing her horse through and Stepan's leading it, like the people are audibly like gasping, like like that she didn't come back, like or that an Aes Sedai didn't return. And it is like a parade of their power at the same time. Like yeah, they came back with one less
Well,
Aes Sedai,
which is
but
they,
but here is Logain and Ablar. They've got the false dragon.
and I think it's something that's brought up in episode six,
Victory parade.
six, late related to that like gasp, right? Like, and that's something I think they say like Logain's like I took down one of your Aes Sedai, fighting 9 of them. Like it's you're weakening. Like that's like that's a surprising thing to see an Aes Sedai fail or die. That's why the death of a warder is also a huge thing because usually the warder dies first, not the Aes Sedai.
Yeah. Such a weird. It's a really good way, though, of showing the depth of that relationship by showing you what happens when the person who's not supposed to die dies. It's a really interesting choice to kind of. I feel like this episode was a lot of place setting, a little bit. Like getting characters to where they need to be, but it is also like for Land and Moraine, it's a really important episode, and especially for the last couple people here to talk about in this episode.
Well, one thing I want to add with the parade, because there's not much else with Rand except for meeting Loyal and Matt and then watching the parade. But there's a little nugget in the parade.
Oh yes, please.
Little secret. I don't even know if people that watch the show would even understand this, because I know this, because he's not been a prominent character in the show, but he's been introduced in the first episode, but he has not been shown again until this episode, and that's Paden Fane, the shopkeeper from Edmonds Fields. He's in the crowd. Matt's looking around. He looks around. He sees the man kind of laughing at a table, and he just gets up and walks away. But that's Paden Fane, who sees them on the balcony.
Oh my gosh! I think I missed that.
Yeah, it's very quick. Oh. And like the second I caught, I'm like, oh, that's Paden Fane. That's cool. Like, and that's important. Like that he's there. But like, I'm just curious how they're playing this out. It's I might be giving away like theories for people that don't know the book, but like his role in the series becomes very important, and like I like how they're just subtly throwing him in there as you go through it.
I just want to ask you, like, what's his deal? What's the deal with that? But don't. We'll see if they're already like dropping him in, like he was in the very first episode. If he had like a little cameo in this episode, then there's something brewing.
I mean, we'll first episode you could tell he looked a little shady. Like you could tell he like kind of leaves the battle like kind of awkwardly. Like he didn't look surprised or scared. So let's put it that way, right?
It was just like, yep, time to close up shop.
He's in on something. But like to him, like they hadn't brought him up again. I'm like, okay, how are they gonna work with Paden Fane? And then they show him in the crowd just kind of subtly, and I'm like, oh, okay. Cool, like that was nice. I like that they're doing that stuff. Is like it's good for me who's read the books, but then it's good for you that when you get to that point, it's like, oh, who's that guy? And then you go back and watch the episodes, like, oh, there he is. Oh, there he is. There he is. You know, I like that. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah. So I mean, overall, like it's funny that they're dropping these little things in there, and I'm glad that it's like satisfying for you Wheel of Time fans that you're seeing things like this along the way. Let's talk about another group, our last group here, Perrin and Egwene, and their departure from the Tinkers because they encounter the White Cloaks.
Yeah.
And it was cool to see the Way of the Leaf in action. They like they're threatened. Even though they just get socked in the face, like, a bunch of just sucker punches, it was really cool just watching them. They're like, we're not going to fight you, and we're not going to let you take these people. And they just go arm to arm and like make a chain. And then what's his name there? Their friend Aram, like tries to help them escape, but ultimately they get captured by Child Valda.
Mm-hmm.
And we get more of his crazy ass. His like I guess he's not crazy. He's just, it seems like, I don't know, sociopathic or just
he's focused. That's all.
Focused, very focused. He thinks that Egwene can channel, right? So he's like, I'm gonna tie up Perrin and torture him, and then you'll show me your power. Yeah. Which I guess is a pretty efficient way to do it. It seems like he's done this before. And he starts cutting up his back. And maybe you can help me describe. I think it's like Egwene starts to, like, she begins like brewing a flame in her hand, and she throws it, and it hits Valda in the chest, and it just like dissipates. And he's like, oh, like, how cute.
But she wasn't trying to hit him.
Exactly. She got to Perrin's bonds, right?
Yep. And Perrin, of course, is doing his own little thing, right?
Yeah. He's wigging out. He's like hulking out.
Yep.
Like old style Lou Ferrigno Hulk. His eyes change. They turned all gold. Like a wolf's. And then suddenly the wolves attack.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, I was reading a synopsis little while ago about this episode, and it said like they're ultimately captured. Gwen and Perrin escape after wolves attack the White Cloak camp, and the animals seem to be connected to Perrin. It's just like thrown in there, like, and the animals seem to be connected to Perrin. It's like, yes, we get it. We get it. And this also gets a little bit of explanation, not really, at least a sort of a recognition in the next episode, in the Flame of Tarvalon. So yeah, they eventually they get out, but it doesn't seem like Child Valda's dead though. Like Gwen got a good stab down into between his shoulder and his neck. But
yeah, I don't have any other extra context there. They're just like taking the information with Perrin and kind of like giving it to us a little faster. The camp does happen. They do get captured by the White Cloaks in the book. They're just they're giving us a little bit more than like just to kind of set the tone of them a little bit more. Like her channeling like that a little sooner. Like in the book, they get released and saved by Nianev and Lon. So it's like there's completely different kind of placements of where they're at. Where here they just have them save themselves, which I think still works because it gives a little bit more information on the White Cloaks and gives Nynaeve it shows her like I guess determination and like fierceness a little bit more, right? Like cause she's like determined to like break free, and then of course it just shows who Perrin really is. He pretty much is he's connected to some animals. That's what.
It's a wolf god.
Yeah.
He's like the wolf god from the wolf god from Princess Mononoke. He's just going to turn into an enormous wolf, and Gillian Anderson will voice him for the rest of the series. That's my predictions.
I'm liking like Perrin. I would say is a lot of people's fan favorites. If like once you go deeper into the series, it's just like early on, it's kind of hard to get to what makes Perrin great. They have to do all this other stuff first, and I get that. I get it.
You know, that's what a lot of people said about Tyrion Lannister in the Game of Thrones show. While you know Peter Dinklage is great in his portrayal, early in the series it seemed like he was kind of being, I don't know, he was more like comic relief, and then slowly like the character himself. And then, like, also in the books, you get to all these cool things that he does and you learn about him. But you have to go through this whole, like, this beginning phase of, like, seeing what he's like now.
Yeah.
How he changes. And I feel like Perrin is the same way. You have this, like, set of scenes and actions that have to take place before you can get to, like, where Perrin is regularly.
I like the actor. Series. I think it's going to pay off. It's not like I'm not saying anything like drastic happened. He just gets out of this like I've killed my wife mode a little bit more.
Yeah, he said it out loud. You know, he said it out loud to her for the first time, and Egwene basically like forgave him. It was like, it's not your fault. Like it was not your fault. Even though when you look back at that scene, it sure looks like his wife is raising the axe to kill him. He acted in self-defense.
I read a little article before we move on to the next episode where Brandon Sanderson, he goes through episode 5. I think he went through episode 4 as well, but
oh yeah, really?
He was saying how like he didn't think that they should give him a wife. Instead, but they understood the reasoning for him needing to kill someone to add more like weight to who Perrin really is. So he's like, well, he should just kill his master. He had a master in the book, like he was an apprentice blacksmith. Which, because they aged him up, it's like, why is he still an apprentice, kind of a thing. Like I think that's why they maybe didn't go that route. Like he felt that like it should have been like he accidentally kills his master versus his wife. But like seeing the scene, he's like, he actually was like, okay, I think that was fine. They handled it well. They're showing his like. Because Perrin has this sense of rageness in him that he tries to hide, and like that's like kind of the remnant. That's kind of like showing its face now. Like he always has felt that I'm a big guy. Like Perrin, like the way they describe in the book, he's like, I'm a big guy. I'm afraid to use my power. So he moves slower. He moves like he's just kind of afraid to hurt people.
Very delicate, not trying to. Yeah.
Yeah, but like here they gave it to like he's afraid to use a weapon because he accidentally killed his wife. So it's a little bit of a different way to take on it.
But it is still. It's like like it's the same sentiment and the same kind of situation you get out of it, but just a different motivation for that feeling.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, if it gets you to the same goal in the end, then
I think it will. I think it will.
It's not like his wife is like injured and waiting to be healed or something, and like on the mend.
He's got.
He's gonna go
it's
back.
The same journey of moving on or getting past something, or character development. Anyways, you want to take a break before we go to episode 6?
Yeah, we're going to talk about the Amerlin seat. But let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about episode 6, The Flame of Tar Valon.
And we're back to continue our conversation on episode 6 of the real-time Flame of Tar Valon. Tar Valon? Me and my pronunciations with this show.
Valon.
That's
what the show is calling it. That's what I'm going by.
I don't know. When I read things, my brain just says it differently. Can't help it. Another good episode. Another interesting take on things. One thing I didn't bring up, like again, this is very interesting because we are in Tar Valon. Like, in the book, you wouldn't have been into the city at all. So, like, you would have been in Camelin. Like, that's where most of these events take place. So, being in Tar Valon, like, eventually you do get this scene. It just happens in a different order. But, like, I'm still glad it exists now. Because I feel like you kind of need it sooner than later. But really, this is the Moraine episode, right? Like, it's all we really do is just follow her around.
Exactly. I wrote down one thing for this episode, which is Moraine can multitask. Like, she is... It's like... He's getting. So we were introduced to the Amerlin seat, the I guess the High Aes Sedai, like the Aes Sedai leader. But it's like there's this scene where she's getting berated, by her superior, and then in the next scene she's taking the dagger from Matt and pulling out his poison. It's just like one thing after. Then she's asking Loyal for a favor. And then she's like meeting up with
glory to the builders, Paul. Glory to the builders.
Glory to the builders. It's just like it's like every time she just shows up and just starts saying like, "Okay, we got to do this, this, and this. All right, what's your problem, Matt? Okay, let's fix it. Okay, fixed. Don't do that again." Where's
Perrin and Egwin? Oh, I have watchers. Where's Rand and Matt? I have watchers.
Why? Why? Can you tell me why? So this drove me crazy. I've been kind of going back and forth on this episode, whether I really liked it or not. And for a little while, I thought this episode kind of dragged. Okay. And I also feel that Moraine, it's like this is like I hope this isn't like going to be a consistent formula. I feel like this is something that they have to do in this first season. And I understand that. Like the first episode where it's like, okay, I gotta, like all this stuff is gonna happen just so we can get you out on the road and get you going towards Tar Valon. Like that's the very beginning. Like we kind of rush through a lot of exposition. She was the exposition machine, just like telling us all sorts of stuff. And then in this episode, I feel like we're doing it again. Like now the pieces got to get moved on the board. We're all gonna go through the ways.
Yep.
To get to where the Dark One is and at the Eye of the World.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, we just gotta blah blah blah, move everybody around, heal Matt, do this, go there, and then reunite all these people and go. I gotta say, the reuniting of all the original 5 people from the Two Rivers was not as emotional, or it didn't really land for me. Because it's like Moraine didn't delayed their reunion.
Yeah.
And for what I can understand, no particular reason.
Yeah, so I
not see the motivation for why she didn't just say like, yeah, they're here, but you can't go see them yet, or I'm bringing them. I've got a plan. Just hang tight here. It's safe here. She just like, and at the end she says like, I didn't trust you at first. Let me tell you a story. And like she doesn't even say like, I trust you now. She just says like, I couldn't tell you what our mission was because I didn't trust you. And then she like changes the subject. It's like, does she really trust them all? What's going on? Please weigh in, Justin. I'm just like,
I'm waiting for you to like. I'm getting you. Are you done? Are you off your soapbox?
The flame of my Valon has just gone out. Go ahead.
So I'm getting the impression you didn't quite like this episode that much.
It's not okay. All of the episodes have been good and compelling and interesting. This one, lots of interesting stuff for sure, and lots of cool scenes, but some weird choices and some things I didn't like.
The pacing of this episode was weird. The pacing of the storytelling.
From a storytelling perspective, it's like why delay their getting together? Like I didn't understand. I didn't understand.
The delaying of getting together is they're trying. I think I know why the delay of getting together, because it was a timing thing.
Why?
Because they don't want the rest of the Aes Sedai that they potentially have 5 Dragon Reborns in the mix. So they're trying to keep them hidden from the rest of them. And that fits.
Indra found them.
Yep, that fits the realm. That fits the whole like kind of essence of the Aes Sedai and so forth, because the rest of them handle this differently. The Moraine, and which we haven't got to yet, the Amalinsi, who she works with, have a plan that they think they can rein in the dragon a little differently. It's explained a little bit better in the book, I feel like, than this one does. I mean, I'm kind of glad that we got that she has Swin Sanch on her side. That is a big part of the politics of the Aes Sedai and the whole plan of Moraine and the connection of why she's on this separate journey. Because they question that a lot, right? Like, why are you doing this? Why are you on this plan? Yeah, because they came up with this plan to look for the Aes Sedai. They said they had a little extra information. They think they see something. They have a vision. They tell the vision. She mentions the vision. But because of
where the dragon will be reborn. Yep.
Because of the Aes Sedai's politics, they can't really quite follow within their rules. So you kind of got a little trapped with Nynaeve, right? Because Nynaeve shows her power, so she has to bring them to the White Tower. Egwene, I think they wanted to. She only really introduces her to the what did I say? Did I say it wrong?
No, that's just my favorite scene when Egwene and Nynaeve are brought to the Amerlin seat, and she's like, I hear you are the strongest channeler, and Egwene is like, oh, me? She's doing the like, and then it's like a total like the other girl. No, I meant the one behind you.
Yeah.
And she like, oh, like the looks that she gives are just like priceless. I love that scene.
Like, damn it, not her. Why her?
Oh, what? Nynaeve? Oh, okay. I guess she doesn't want to show her disappointment, so she's like embarrassed. Like, okay, it's a good scene.
But anyway, that's that. They don't really explain it in the episode really well, but that's really, I think, the main thing, because you have the scene with Leandrin that like is sort of figuring it out, right? And she's like, "You better not say anything."
I didn't know that the Aes Sedai would have such like palace intrigue, like they're maneuvering against each other like this. I didn't know, but now I do.
Yep. Oh yeah. It's more the reds and the blues. I feel like the rest of them are just kind of like the yellows are kind of like Hufflepuffs. They just kind of keep them themselves. It's like the greens are too busy fighting things and having 4 warders, so they're a little just preoccupied, and the browns are just stuck in. The Browns are stuck in books, and like
we didn't really get any of like the other roles, but we did get to see that there's like what 6 or 7 colors.
There's white, blue, red. I mean, kind of shows it in the intro too,
and it shows. Oh yeah, it shows the. Well, they did a lot of these top-down shots on this tower. The White Tower.
Can't see the browns.
Really cool.
Yeah, the browns and the whites are hard to see in that shot, right? You can't really see them as well. The blues kind of look black, like the browns and blues kind of look the same because they're like darker toned, right?
Right.
But they have
there's the blacks too.
No, not black. Not black. The browns and the blues. They look at black like from a
Oh, okay, all
distance.
right. I see what you're saying.
But they kind of look.
Browns,
They kind of look the
blue.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got
Brown, blue, white, red,
yes.
green.
Yes.
That's 5. Yellow. That's 6.
Yep. That's it.
Sound right? Okay.
And then the Amarillion seat technically is rainbow, like her opposite. Yeah. They describe her just as rainbow in the book, so that's how.
I thought the seat was really cool. The actual seat itself.
Mm-hmm.
Thought that was cool. I love their whole kind of organization, and I love that they were like Moraine had. I was dying laughing at this. Moraine, during all this multitasking, she had time for a schwitz and got to go to the sauna and just like chill out for a while. And her boss shows up, of course, and she's like, "Can I at least enjoy this time?"
That's the only time they could have a private conversation, right? I guess.
Getting a schwitz. Getting a good sweat on.
At first, I'm like, oh man! Like when I first saw that scene, I'm like, okay, why are you trying to be Game of Thrones? Like it's like you don't have to have naked people everywhere. But then it wasn't bad. Then it wasn't bad. Like at first, I thought it was going in that direction, but then I'm like, okay, they're handling this a little bit with respect. It's like, yeah, they're just a bunch of people bathing in a sauna. What's the big deal? Like
that's what you do.
But like in Game of Thrones, you just see like you would see it would just be disrespect. I feel like it would be a little bit more pornhousey. That's all.
Yeah, but that's how Martin wrote it. I don't think people want to admit how pornographic George R. R. Martin writing is.
True.
People like to put it up there. It's fine. It's good writing, but it's very explicit in a lot of ways. It doesn't, and sometimes it doesn't need to be. And the show did it a lot because instead of they did what did they call it? Sex position, where it was just like, we need to relay a lot of information. Let's do it while 2 ladies are going at it. Like we'll just have Littlefinger talk over 2 prostitutes having sex. But no, this schwitzing scene I thought was funny. Her boss comes and tells her basically, you're grounded and you're going to stay at the White Tower. And so when she does meet with the Amyrlin Seat and you learn that that Moraine is in a relationship with her, she's like, yeah, you got to kind of put me in exile so I don't have to stay here.
I thought that was so that's a big conversation online. Them having a relationship is kind of a huge change from the series. You got because so I want to say like, yeah, I think this book was made in early 90s. Different era, different time. I
think just about everybody could have assumed that this wasn't an original part of the book.
I wouldn't. I mean, I don't know. I guess I wouldn't know that answer because I know more. But there are hints or references or subtleties of like when they're novices, like you got the idea of like pillow talk, kind of nuns type vibe. They're only women hanging out with each other. They don't because it's not like they don't especially say that because holding hands in the books in the early books is a big deal. But like, like so I'm just saying like there is like some sort of like conversation of like that kind of stuff, like, but the series is really kind of modernizing those takes. I mean, you had in episode 3 where they're just like, "Oh, you guys together," as if it's not a big deal, right? Which it shouldn't be. But I'm just, it's surprising when you've like read a book from 1990 and you don't see any of that, or it's not even like it's not really discussed. It's following old tropes of fantasy, like you add like the fact that they're only looking for male channelers, not all of them, and But I just thought it was a good change that still explains their connection and their strong relationship, and it kind of adds a little bit to it. I think it makes their relationship even stronger.
I agree with you. I think it doesn't. It actually makes it more secure of a bond because I mean what they're like, they have a secret plan basically, and their secret plan is to confront the Dark One, and by using one of these 5 that they from Emmons Field, is that right?
Edmonds Field, yeah.
Pretty sure it's just Emmons. But
Is it Edmonds? You
anyway,
might be
from the
right.
two
I thought it was
from the
Edmonds.
two rivers. But like to take them there and to confront the Dark One, and that's one way to that will uncover who the Dragon Reborn is.
Yes.
And I understand, like, seeing the reds, the whites, the kind of castle or palace intrigue and politics of the Aes Sedai, why they're doing it in secret, but it makes it feel like yes, this is a very secure or very like I don't know, it's a very secure secret, but at the same time, I wonder if the leader of the Blue Aja, Moraine's boss there, is going to be suspicious of it, only because there is that scene where she's getting exiled, where Moraine's blue boss is just like her reaction. Clearly, she's dismayed. Like, I just told her to stay. It's almost like a little too convenient. I wonder if that'll, percolate into anything. But just
I don't
letting
know.
that one out there.
I'm not sure. It's kind of weird. We're in a weird place, so it's hard for me to theorize that. Like, I don't remember her as being a prominent. There's so many Aes Sedai in the book that I sometimes I don't remember their names. So like that one didn't like stick out to me as a character that was maybe important. I'm sure they brought it up in the book at one point. But like again, like them being in Tar Valon is completely shifting
Sure.
the direction of things a little bit, So it's like
Yep.
I don't know what to expect there.
And we're not here for very long because Moraine's punishment is exile. And oh, by the way, I really want to know what Leandrin's punishment is. I was waiting to hear what that was going to be.
I don't
Uh,
know.
anyways, hopefully, I was hoping maybe they'll allude to it sometime. Come back and she's got one eye missing or something.
She's too busy. She's got a man. You got to let her.
Yeah, so Moraine has a secret on her too.
Yeah.
I love how she says, like, you know what your red sisters would do to him. But so now she manages to gather all the Two Rivers villagers, and Loyal, for some reason, I like how she just like, hey, can you do me a favor? You want to come? And he's like, sure. I like how he joins the party. It's really like Final Fantasy. And Loyal has joined the party.
So him coming is there's a little bit more. There's more reason for him to come. Like he has a purpose. There's a benefit,
and I'm sure it'll get explained again on the road.
Yeah, maybe he'll explain it. Back to the multi. It's just kind of funny. Like there's a point where she's just drinking tea. Like she has a moment just to have some tea, and then she's like. Yes. She just sees Nynaeve and Loial go out. She's like, okay, go follow them. Oh, he's sick. Oh, okay, I'll go heal him now. Like I said, like it's just like it's just, she's like that because she has all these watchers, right? And she can know when to go to these things, so she could tell. I feel like she knew where Rand and Matt was for a while, and she's just like, oh, Nynaeve's out there. We can go heal him now. How bad is he? Okay, yeah, like, and she just sucks it out of him.
I love how she like basically berates Nynaeve too, and is like, she's like, "How long did you know about this and didn't tell me and couldn't and you couldn't do this yourself, you couldn't heal him." She was like, "And they call you a wisdom? Better start using some of that wisdom." I love that.
Yeah.
But let's talk. I mean, this ending is pretty weird because she basically says she gets them on their horses and is like, I haven't told you everything because I didn't trust you. I'm not going to tell you everything now, but I will tell you this. We're going to go to the Eye of the World. What's that? I don't know. I won't tell you just yet. We're going there, though, because that's where the Dark One is. He's at his weakest, from what we can gather. And one of you is the Dragon Reborn, and we're going to confront him and see what happens, and the dragon should be able to destroy him. Like, that's our mission. I like how I think it's Egwene who asks, like, "What happens to the others?" And she's like,
"Matt asked that question."
Does Matt ask it? He's like, "What? What about the rest of us?"
Yeah, because Egwene, that's more in his character, right? Like him questioning everything and being paranoid. Because the taint's still there. Like he's still being affected by it. Like it's not completely gone.
Which is why I want to talk about this scene, because they all go through the Waygate, right, where they're going to travel to get to the Eye of the World, but Matt stays behind. Also, how did nobody notice that Matt wasn't walking with them? Like, wouldn't Rand, who's been like watching him for so long, just like now he got to hug at Gwen, he completely forgot
I
about
mean, the
Matt.
ways it affects the mind. Like I don't
Well,
I don't.
here, I gotta tell you, I don't think he was ready. I think he knew deep down he wasn't ready to do that because he just. This has been like a month and a half that he's been under the influence of the dagger, and he just got healed. Um, and now she's saying like, "We're gonna go confront the Dark One." It feels like he's been like in touch with the Dark One and dark powers, and I to me personally, it was like he in himself saw like I might be too weak to do this, or like I don't know what would happen. I don't know if I could trust myself
Yeah.
if I went.
The way it's cut though,
Because
I wonder if he just walks in there at the next episode though. But I feel like that doesn't fit right the way they've been doing it, because to me, my understanding is he went in the ways. So like, again, this is a completely different take or change to what I would expect. Does
it's a
he?
strange looking place too. It looks like the set, like behind the actual set or
Yeah,
something. It's like dark and like boxes are around.
Like
Something.
the ways to me was not. I don't know how if there's more to it or not, but like I like be my senior brain, my 2001 brain is reading this part of the book, and all I can just envision in it is like it was Rainbow Road for Mario Kart. Like they're just like on, but like instead of a rainbow, it's just like stone walls and just like nothingness and like lightning bolts and stuff, because they had that in there in the show. But I love the description of the waves when they took it. Like it just what I've seen so far of it is not what I would imagined in my head. Like,
I'm trying to think like maybe they're saving it for the next episode.
But they were built by the Ogier. They're the ones that built them.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so that's why Loyal is
Yeah.
coming along for other things, I'm sure. But that seems
pretty sure. I'm pretty sure I'm accurate on that. I tend to be. I've been wrong in the past, but that is from what
she does. Moraine kind of says like she asks him a favor, but then doesn't really say what that favor is.
Yeah, it's he knows because in the book he knows where the ways are, or the way gate is. I'm doing a double check to see if I'm right.
That's cool though. They've been showing that gate, those two like stone pillar type things. They've been showing that in the promotional material with like Moraine next to it, like the next episode, which I mean we're going to be talking about here soon, but it's called The Dark Along the Ways, so I'm sure it'll be a very interesting journey.
Yeah, so yeah, the Ogier did build it.
Okay.
I think they had help. I'm just getting a brief little synopsis, but yes, I was
right.
correct. I'm just happy that I'm happy that I'm correct. My fact checking here. But yeah, like
now that we got the whole crew together, it'd be interesting to see what happens now, except for Matt.
But yeah, it is weird, like how the reunion was a little bit lackluster. But honestly, it really wasn't that. It was kind of lackluster in the book. I feel like it's just the nature of what the book was, how the book was written. It's just like, hey, we're all together again. But again, there's like other things in between that kind of helps you get there, and it doesn't seem as bad. Like they've kind of cut some moments out and some characters out that you would have already met by now, which we haven't yet. And so like, because they've flipped it around a little bit. So like, I get why we're in this position. The Eye of the World part is very kind of like out of nowhere. So it's like, they go there for a different reason versus the Emerlian seat kind of like saying they need to go there to do our plan. Yeah. Their reasoning is different in the book, but it is kind of, again, like out of left field. Like this actually makes a little bit more sense. In the book, it's just based on the constant dreams they're having, because they continuously dream of the Eye of the World. And when they describe it to Moraine, she's like, well, that's where we have to go then. That's kind of like the difference there. It's like, that's the only answer. That's the only place that's where we must go because you keep dreaming of this place. So let's all go there.
Okay.
So
That might fly if they spend a lot of time doing dream sequences, but I can understand. This seems to expedite a lot of things because not only did you get to show Tarvalon the Amerlin seat, kind of understand the machinations of the Aes Sedai and how they work. You get a lot by taking them there. We as viewers get a lot. Like we get a lot of context for understanding
yeah,
not just the show, but like the greater world itself and how they fit into the world. Um, how the White Tower and the city surrounding it, like are how like I love that city, by the way. I just got to say, like, I know that I read something that they were like, no, like in the book, like it's just the tower. They're like, they don't even mention a city. But I love the fact that there is like this seat of power for the Aes Sedai, and that there are people there, and it's like a golden age Renaissance, city. It's beautiful. It's like a
yeah.
well put together place.
I,
Really like cool. Like it's the most modern place we've seen so far
yeah.
in terms of like
I felt that it was
what
weird that the
the
city was so big because I thought maybe just I couldn't remember it. Like I was like, wow, there's a lot of people here. I don't remember.
yeah, they don't really mention much, or Jordan doesn't really write too much about like the actual city or the people who live around there. It's just focused on the White Tower itself.
There's like a warder camp, I think that's nearby, and like I kind of just remember it being just a big tower and just like
Mhm.
military surrounding it, like because the warders and stuff like that. Because I think there's a separate, military. That's me just kind of vaguely remembering it that they did like training of people. Like
Yeah. Yeah, they do show like this guard of some kind walking the streets, like some kind of peacekeepers in
that
the
sounds
city.
right. Yeah, that sounds right.
You know.
Um, but no,
They're
it's
not
interesting.
dressed as warders or anything. They look very different. Like this is their job, like to protect the city or protect the tower, whatever it is that they do.
Yeah.
But no, it's
Um,
interesting stuff. Like I said, like it is kind of weirdly plotted and paced. But now we're going to the place that the book is named after. And all this time, I've never asked what is actually the eye of the world. Am I going to find this out
yeah.
pretty soon? Is it literally an eye?
No.
Okay, thank you. That's all I needed to know. I just had to get myself ready for whatever kind of craziness this could be.
Well,
Just
here
needed to
I'm
make
gonna
sure it
make you.
wasn't a eyeball.
I'm gonna make you excited
Okay. Oh, Justin, excite me.
because the Waygate doesn't just go. It's like a teleportation thing. It's like a faster way. It's a faster way to get places.
Yes, it's a portal. It's a warp zone.
You asked
Whatever.
me where are we just like you asked me when we were left leaving somewhere. Like, are we gonna go to this place? You're really excited about this place when you looked at the map, and you really wanted to go there.
Blight. Is it going to show the blight?
That's where the eye of the world is.
Cool. I've always been interested in what that would look like. The description I remember from the book, very brief, but very interested to see how that looks.
I
I
tried.
studied that map a lot, and I have
You
been
do.
now.
You got the
Yeah,
map.
I brought New Spring back home. I had left it out for any student that might want to read it, and I took it back. So we were looking at actually Kristen's reading it right now. She's like 100 pages into it, and I was examining the map.
Oh, so wait, Kristen's already reading it?
Yeah, she's reading it now, and it's all. I guess it's all about the background of Lan and Moraine. It's like their prehistory.
Oh, is she reading New Spring or is she reading Out of the World?
New Spring.
Oh, she
No, she's
started New
reading
Spring.
New Spring.
See, I don't know.
We're waiting for Eye of the World to get here.
I never read New Spring, so I don't really know because that was written later.
Yeah, it's a prequel. It's a prequel. But good so far.
Yeah. One other thing I'll mention though is we kind of touched on before she sees Swan Song. We didn't even talk about Swan Shan's like origin story, which I thought was kind of neat. Like kind of seeing her.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that opening um, for her. Like how powerful she was as even a child, and how her father is like keeping it under wraps, and then like is like, nope, nope, you got to go.
Yeah.
It's too late now. Like it's not safe for you. It's
Yeah.
like he really looked out for her. Good job. Good
I
job.
like that because they do reference like her backstory a little bit, like how she says like a weird accent and like grew up as a fisherman's daughter, and like that's like kind of a sort of an ongoing conversation, and like it's one of her characterizations, I guess, is that she kind of
He's low
showcases.
born, whereas Moraine and Lan, as I've learned from New Spring, are high born.
That's
But
correct.
yeah, no,
Um,
interesting stuff. You still have, even within these groups, you also have royalty and royal blood like mixed in there as well.
oh yes, we'll learn more of that eventually. We should have learned about it already, but they skipped that part, I guess.
It's
But
already a lot to get through.
yeah, one thing I was gonna say, like when she goes to CCN Sanch, though, when she uses like what they call that a tiangirl, I think that's what it is. It's like
Okay.
it's a device that can use the one power, so it's like sort of a man-made device
Uh,
that can like they have like devices that are created to kind of help enhance your use of the one power. They're like sort of like artifacts, I guess, or like magic devices.
Interesting.
They call them Tiangirl. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but
Okay.
that thing on the wall, I think that's what that was. It kind of brings her to like this other kind of plane, I guess. That looks whatever that was, where they kind of meet, right? Because it looked like she was back at her fisherman's house, but maybe that's just a depiction. Because that's not really described too much in the book.
No, I couldn't tell exactly. I thought it was just like one of her own, like one of the Amerlin seats, like own like rooms to herself or something, or like a private room of
I
hers.
think vaguely remember when they in the book they do talk about how they found this like thing on the wall or window. They learned a secret about it where they can like use because they would live at sleep. They would be in different rooms, but it was a way for them to kind of meet at this other room that kind of connected through magic because it was like
It's
kind
like
of a
a room of requirement.
yeah, yeah, I guess you can call it that. That's
It's
what I
just
vaguely
something that like
remember.
meets like in an independent plane, like
Yeah.
they.
But
Oh, it's
there's got
interesting.
to be a way they kind of like can like maybe envision how it looks because obviously it looked like her her fisherman house growing
Hmm,
up. Um, but
very
before
interesting.
that, Lan comes in there, and I thought that was really interesting. It's like you shut me off. Like, what are you doing? It's like
Yes, yes. He's like, you turned off our connection. What gives?
he's like, oh, that's why. All right, well,
Uh,
go.
yeah, it was so good. He was like, be back before dark. I'll wait outside the door. He's totally Big Brother. Like, all right, you're sneaking out to see your girlfriend. Okay,
Give her my
just be
love.
back before mom and dad gets home.
I just thought that was a cool
So
scene.
it
Like he's like it's like
was funny.
because you can't hide those feelings from the warder. Like
No,
the warder would like when she's around Cien Sanj, it's like he could tell. Like he knows that she is infatuated by her, obviously. But man,
yeah,
she puts on her acting chops really good when she's around. Like the fact that they can't lie, it's against the oath, but they do such a good job at like using words and weaving and dodging and like I mean I would wonder like did you when you first got the introduction when you first started berating on Moraine for like the like before you found out they were lovers like were you surprised by that or did you kind of see it coming?
I was surprised by that. I did not. No, I was surprised by that.
Okay.
It was I think it was a well kept surprise, and when she goes in and sees her, like as soon as it's revealed that she's there, I was like, oh, okay, all right. Like it was all at once. Like I didn't need any more to like. As soon as like it was like, oh, this secret door that Moraine can access from her bedroom. Hmm. Hmm. But I think it's cool. I think it was really interesting, and it communicates the information well enough that the Amerlin seat and Moraine have this plan to confront the Dark One and to find out who the Dragon Reborn is. And now we're back on the road. We've got a mission ahead. We'll see where Matt ends up with
Yeah.
this next week's episode. But well, I don't know. I just have mixed feelings about some of the choices, but I can kind of understand why the choices were made. So it's a little frustrating.
Yeah,
But
no,
it
I can
seems
see
like
that.
these last two episodes are going to be pretty very, very interesting because now we're going to really like alien places. So
yeah,
I'm excited. I'm very excited.
No, I'm happy with the direction it's going. I could see why you'd be kind of weird with the last episode, but I know you still like it. I'm just saying, like, it is kind of
yeah,
it
but
was kind of awkward.
these are just like writer choices and direction choices, not like in the
And
overall.
it's like that's the thing when you're making an adaptation. You have to fit these moments in there, and you gotta sometimes I think have to find ways to kind of force it in there too, like because you need it. But then you're like, well, yeah, we did all the other things, and those are really good, but we still gotta force that part in. It's like that's
Still, yeah, it doesn't feel like shoehorning. It just feels fast.
yeah. Hey,
Fast.
I'm
It's
all
like,
about faster and more intense. I mean, I'm all about that. I've been a big fan of that.
I've lived my life by this motto.
All right. Well, still luck in the show. We're gonna finish the show on the next episode, right?
Yeah, our next episode we're going to cover both the last 2 episodes of the season. We kind of figured that these next 2 are probably going to be pretty big together. So we're going to do the same thing we did for these 2. So episode 7, The Dark Along the Ways, and episode 8, The Eye of the World. We'll be doing those together. So it'll be after Christmas. The last episode there premieres on Christmas Eve.
Oh.
And yeah, maybe Santa will bring us a surprise, and we'll see the blight.
Maybe they'll give us a 9th episode. I doubt it.
Oh, they'll drop it a day early.
All right. Well, this has been playing.
Until next time.
Oh, you go do it. You go ahead. Do it.
You just did it. This has been.
I'm Paul. Yeah, I'm Justin. This has been Playing Favorites Review. Like, subscribe, comment. Go check all of our socials.
Ring that bell.
Have a good night.
Good night.